class of Introduction to Building Planning. Now this is the second lecture video. In first lecture video, we have discussed about different factors for site selection and different type of other factors on which we will go for building planning. Let me share my screen. First, we will quickly go through what we did in the last video lecture, and then we will discuss about this class. So I hope my screen is visible to everyone. So first we have discussed about different factors for site selection. Then we have discussed about orientation in Indian condition. So here are the objectives for orientation of different parts of any building. And this was the principle for good orientation, and that too for India. And lastly, we discussed about different factors which generally affect the positioning or orientation of different parts of any building. And these 5 points already we have discussed in our previous lecture. So these points were solar radiation, temperature, or sunlight, we can directly say, then clouds and rains, then direction of winds, humidity, that is moisture present in the air or atmosphere. Then according to humidity, we have different design consideration. In different places, we have different humidity factors, and accordingly, we have to select the appropriate design methods and orientation techniques. And last one is prevailing wind. Now, building orientation based on different climatology in India. For different countries, we have different climates, and throughout the year, different temperature, different wind velocity, and their direction will be different. If we, to be particular, focus on the orientation of India, then we have to focus on the climate of India. Now, obviously, as we have discussed in the first video lecture, that to utilize the natural resources, that is sunlight and wind and all other factors, natural factors, in an optimum way, we have to effectively plan. We have to make effective building plan. That is utilization of sunlight in most of the daytime, utilization of wind velocity in order to maintain the temperature of the interior portion of the building in a comfortable level, and also the habitats of that room does not affected, or their health and their mind becomes healthy in most of the time. Now, because here you see orientation building is an important criteria, but another aspect to keep the interior also climate friendly, and in the orientation of the voids, that are the fenestrations and opening of the structure. So if you just look at the image on the screen, here you see in summer season, we know that generally sun remains top of our head and the shadow will be very small. And in winter, sun will lean towards the southern direction. Here you see just opposite way. Maybe during the drawing, the direction of north and south was put in wrong direction. Anyway, so during winter, we know that the sun will lean towards the southern direction. So what happens when it is a summer season? Then the tendency of sunlight will not enter through the window or door, because there we provide chaja just above the sun, so just above the door and windows, that is at the lintel level. Now there are obviously certain limitations, certain regulations, that what will be the dimension of chaja that we can provide. or project outward towards outward of our building. Now, why we provide charger? That is obviously for two purposes. One is to protect or to restrict the entry of sunlight through the window and door, and second one is to protect the rain uh, to come in contact with the window panels or door panels. That means we do not want rain to come inside our room. We do not want direct sunlight to come inside our room directly, that in summer season. But in winter, when the sun will lean towards the southern direction, then the sun ray will come in a deflected direction, and in that time, the sun ray can easily enter into our room. So that should be the idea, that should be the planning, that we should make the different parts of the building in such a way that we can utilize most of the natural resources. Same way we can easily experience the direction of flow of wind throughout the year during different times, different seasons, different months, and we can place, we can position the windows accordingly, because winter season generally when there will be flow of wind through the northern direction, and it will bring the cold air. So we do not want that cold air to come inside our room, and it will make our the temperature cold. And we want sunlight during the winter season to enter uh, into the building. So we can provide window in either eastern direction or in the southern direction. Okay, if in case we have no other choice but to put rooms in northern direction or in western direction, we have some certain regulations that what should be the dimension and what should be the minimum area or the maximum area to provide any window in any direction, right? So accordingly we can follow the national building code and we can provide window or door in any direction. But obviously we have to focus on the natural resources, and we have to calculate that how much natural resource we can utilize and can take it for our human benefit. Now, here you see, in India, we have generally 4 zones. What are those 4 zones? First is hot and dry climate zone in India. Now, hot and dry climate zone means obviously hot means the air temperature will be very high and moisture will be very less. So that's why hot and dry climate zone. Now, where you can find this type of weather condition? Obviously, in the northern and eastern regions of India, like Rajasthan, some part of Madhya Pradesh, Delhi, some portion of UP, you will find this type of weather condition. Now, when we have hot and dry climate zone, obviously the orientation of the building or different parts of the building and interior orientation has to be done in an effective way. How so? Because already we discussed that if the temperature or if the weather is very hot, so obviously we will not allow the entry of direct sunlight into the room. So for that reason, we have to provide high shade or very thick shaded cover over the roof, so that the temperature of the roof also remains under control and the inside temperature of the room remains in an bearable condition. Not only that, we can provide sufficient amount of vegetation around the building. Vegetation does not mean vegetable. Point is, vegetation means different type of plants and trees. Now, what we can do? We can provide louvered window, we can provide louvered doors in front. Not only that, we can provide an extra layer of sheet over the roof coverings, just like bitumen cover or a pitch cover over the roof surface. And in front, we can provide we can provide big trees like any mango tree or a banyan tree or similar kind of trees, which will provide very thick shade and protect our building from the entry of direct sunlight. But another fact we have to focus that the vegetation should not be placed in a way that it creates an obstruction in the flow of air, because if it is very dry and hot, obviously we will we require some good flow or good flow of breezes or good flow of air, so that the inside or the interior of the building becomes very comfortable. So in order to maintain the good flow of air and also to provide good shade, so the shape of the tree should be high enough so that it can shade the roof, but it should be tall enough so that in the bottom portion there is free areas and very less amount of obstacles, and which will allow the flow of air into the rooms. So here you see, in this picture you will easily understand that how vegetation should be provided. Now in front we have a large tree. Here you see tall trees and with wider range of branches and thicker leaves, which will provide good shade. Not only that, the bottom portion should remain free to allow good breeze of air, and not only that, in front there should be small uh, plants like bush and flower plants, which will try to cool down the flowing air, and ultimately it will enter into the room and it will maintain the room temperature in a bearable limit. Now you see, we are providing shades all over the area of our building. Now how air, or sorry, how light will enter into the building? For that, you see, the trees which we will plant behind or beside in our building, the height should be in a way that sunlight directly falls over those trees and leaves, and we get reflected light in summer season or in hot and dry weather condition. Here you see, we do not want direct sunlight to enter into our room, but we want reflected light to enter into the room. So that should be the ideal vegetation type if our building is located in any hot and dry climate condition. Next is warm and humid climatic zone. Now, where we will get this warm and humid climatic zone? Warm means obviously temperature will be high. Humid means moisture content or the humidity in air will be very high. Now, beside any coastal area, coastal region, or beside any water bodies like lakes, big size lakes and rivers, we will get this type of weather condition. In summer season, beside any coastal area or beside any river, we will get to see this type of weather condition. Now, where we have warm and humid climate condition, obviously along with a single building, we have to look at the group of buildings. Now, in the first image here you see wind is flowing in south to northern direction. Now, in order that all the building gets good flow of air, so the orientation of those buildings are done in a manner that every building can get this air. That means it should not be aligned, all the buildings should not be aligned in the direction of the flowing wind. Got it? Now, how one individual building will be designed? For that, please look at the right side. So obviously, like the hot and dry weather condition, here also temperature will be very high, and for that reason we have to provide multiple layers over the roof sheet, and also we have to maintain good flow of air. But here one thing is, if we provide large trees like mango tree or even banyan tree, obviously they will provide good shade over, but as their stem are very wide and they provide very large number of branches in sideway, so that will create an obstacle in the flow of air. Due to humidity, even if the temperature is in a lower level, but it will create us a bad comfort condition, and ultimately it will feel like the temperature is even more high. So for that reason we want continuous flow of air, and for that reason, to maintain the comfort level in a bearable limit and to control the room temperature, we have to provide three layer of ventilation. One will be beneath the floor level, another will be through that floor level, and the third one will be above that floor level. So if we can maintain these three level of air ventilation, we can control the room temperature and we can make the room very comfortable. And for that reason, we have to provide, we have to select the vegetation which will be very tall enough, that can provide the shade over our roofs, but lean enough so that it create very minimum amount of obstruction in the flow of wind. And trees like a palm tree, coconut tree, this should be the ideal trees or ideal vegetation that we can provide around our building. So here is also another image. You see multi-layer roofs. Okay, on the uh, lower level people will live, and just above it we have to provide another layer of roof which will where the wind will flow through, but we can utilize that as our go down or some storage place, but in any other way we can allow that place for good ventilation. Now, there is other two types of climatic condition. One is moderate climate condition, and the fourth one is cold climatic zone. Now, moderate means where temperature will be in a moderate level, means not too high, not too cold. Obviously, very comfortable condition. Now, for that places there is no such extra regulations, extra limitation, only to maintain the comfort level and to maintain the hygiene and roominess. Only these factors we have to take care of. Otherwise, there is not so much restriction. In any direction, we can create our room, because wind flow can happen in any direction, and also temperature will not rise so much high that it can create uh, uncomfortness to the residents. So you can provide window in any direction, door in any direction, and so that it creates very lesser amount of distance for communication and all. Otherwise, this is very good place for residing. But for the case of cold climatic zone, obviously we understand this will be near the poles of our earth, and if we consider the Indian point of view, it will be near the Himalayan regions like uh, mm, uh, Himachal Pradesh or Uttarakhand, Kashmir, Punjab, or in Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh. So these places where most of the time in an year has very cold weather condition. Obviously we want entry of sunlight into the room, and for this position we have to provide the sunroof. Now sunroof is what? Sunroof is, we have to provide glass sheets on the roof. Now here one thing to observe, that if any place is located in cold climatic zone, obviously there is a chance of snowfall. Now, in the first class already we mentioned, if there is snowfall, definitely that snow will accumulate over the roof, and that will remain for some time, maybe few hours or few days, right? Now, if it remains over the roof for some long period of time, that will uh, that will put some extra amount of load into the building, and to avoid this fact we have to provide sloped roof on those areas, so that even if there is any snowfall takes place, the snow gets down through that sloped roof. And second one is, as the temperature of the atmosphere is very cold, we have to warm the room. Now, for keeping the room warm, we have two, three options. Either we can use room heaters, or we can allow the sunlight to maintain the room temperature and comfort level. Now, sunlight can enter into room either through the doors and window, or it can enter into the room if we provide any sunroof. So for lighting sunroof, either we can provide glass seats over the roof, or we can provide glass window. Okay, and the vegetation type will be the type which obstruct the flow of cold air into the room directly, and it does not provide any shadow near to the window or to the roof. Okay, so if we provide any vegetation, that should be far, at least at some distance from the walls or from the building, so that it does not provide any shadow and it allows sunlight to enter into the room. Thank you. We will discuss some other factors in the later videos. So that's it. If you have any question, you can mail me at tridib.pramanik@adamasuniversity.ac.in. We will meet soon in the next video lecture. Thank you very much.